Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. Today, we start with some great economic development news to share, including national recognition of our state and several of our rapidly growing communities, as well as a few companies investing here in Kentucky. Last year, we announced 248 private sector new location and expansion projects totaling $10.5 billion and the creation of 16,000 full-time jobs for our residents at the second highest wage we'd ever announced. This week, we were recognized for that incredible success. Yesterday, we learned that Site Selection Magazine, the preeminent economic development periodical, in their 2022 Governor's Cup rankings, Kentucky placed second nationally, second in the entire country in per capita economic development. We also placed first in our region. A lot of great Kentucky companies and communities were also recognized, all of which deserve to be celebrated. But I want to take a moment to give a special shout out to one in particular, and that's Mayfield. Devastated by the 2021 tornadoes, this community took one of the top 20 spots for economic success in micropolitan areas. We promised that we would be there for that community in Western Kentucky, just like we're going to be for Eastern Kentucky. And just look, a year plus later, new jobs, so many new jobs that Mayfield's receiving national recognition. What a good reason for people to stay and for the town not just to rebuild, but to thrive. Folks, Kentucky is becoming an economic powerhouse, and we're seeing this success thanks to you and everyone across Kentucky. Now, it's our communities that roll out the red carpet to these opportunities, that show people how great it would be to live and work in that community. And this result of hard work and dedication is really special to share all across Kentucky. These awards are a huge honor, and it's exciting to see Kentuckians working together to secure lasting prosperity, where we turn the brain drain into the brain gain, where gone will be the days where our talented youth think they have to move to secure opportunity. And what's coming are the days when other states' talented youth are moving to Kentucky because this is where it's at. In addition to the Commonwealth's strong achievements nationally, several Kentucky communities were recognized by Site Selection for their economic success in 2022 as well. The Louisville Jefferson County region placed fifth in projects per capita for metropolitan areas with populations over 1 million. Congratulations to Louisville. Lexington Fayette County placed 10th among best metros for the South Central region. The Cincinnati Northern Kentucky region ranked 9th overall in total projects with 112 and 3rd for projects per capita. Bowling Green placed 2nd in total projects for metros with populations below 200,000 and ranked 4th in projects per capita. The Elizabethtown-Fort Knox area joined Bowling Green in the per capita top 10, with the community's announcements placing it 5th for overall projects and 7th per capita. Kentucky also moved in the top 3 for total projects for micropolitan areas, which are cities with populations between 10 and 50,000. What that means is we are the 3rd best state right now for locating jobs in what they would classify as rural areas. And we tied for 3rd with 40 projects, 2 spots higher than last year. This is part of our promise, now our success, of ensuring that these economic development projects aren't just going to a couple of big cities, but they are going all around the Commonwealth. We have had 11 communities crack the top 100 for total projects among top micropolitans in the country. So the Commonwealth continues to punch above its weight, and we continue to deliver on ensuring that prosperity is going to reach every part of Kentucky and that no one will be left out. Communities in that top 100 include Bardstown, Glasgow, and London. They're in the top 20, followed by Murray, Frankfort, Richmond, Berea, Paducah, Mayfield, Campbellsville, Middlesboro, and Maysville. On top of these achievements, 3 Kentucky projects, from Envision AESC to Ford Motor Company to Novellus Corporation, were recently recognized with 2023 Corporate Investment and Community Impact Awards from the Trade and Industry Development, which highlights projects that bring extensive capital investment or influential impact to the communities in which they locate. Envision received a CC award for corporate investment based on its $2 billion, 2,000 job electric vehicle battery gigafactory that we're building in Bowling Green. Meanwhile, Ford, with its $700 million investment in the Kentucky truck plant, creating 500 new jobs, retaining thousands of others, and Novelis, a $365 million aluminum recycling project that's creating 140 jobs in Todd County, each received a Community Impact Award. I could not be more proud of all of our Team Kentucky partners, of all of the cities and counties. Really grateful for everybody who has worked hard to give the best shot for this dad and mom, because the First Lady will be up in a second, to keep our kids in Kentucky. Because with all the work being done out there, they're going to be able to chase big dreams in Kentucky if they so choose. In other tremendous news, earlier this week, Kentucky received a $117 million federal award to expand access to capital for small business through the U.S. Department of Treasury State Small Business Credit Initiative. This funding will be allocated in 3 phases over the next 10 years towards venture capital programs, loan support, and community development financial institutions, with a focus on expanding access for underserved business owners. Very exciting to have over $100 million of additional capital to help our small businesses grow. Remember, while we make all these big announcements of new companies or expansions, small businesses add more jobs to the Kentucky economy every year than the big ones that we announce. They are also the last groups to lay people off during hard times. They are pillars of our community. Very exciting. We're going to have this additional money to support small business. Finally, last week I had the opportunity to join local officials to break ground on the new $259 million Simpson County facility for Trader Joe Eats Incorporated, which is going to create 876 jobs in and around Franklin County. This is a massive site where there's going to be 3+ buildings. Trader Joe's was founded in 1967 and is now a leading retail distributor and supplier of food and beverage products. This facility is going to be a distribution center that will be providing food and other items to stores all across the eastern half of the United States. The company now employs 50,000 employees in 537 stores across 44 states. This is going to include a 1 million square foot state-of-the-art distribution, warehousing, and cold storage center in Simpson County's Stone Givens Industrial Park. We are grateful for Trader Joe's investment. This is an enormous investment and project, and it was as cold last Friday when we did this as I can remember. All right, I'll turn it over to our First Lady, and then we'll come back with some good news for more good news for the Commonwealth.
Good afternoon. Today, March 2nd, marks one of my favorite times of the year. Today is Read Across America Day. This annual celebration of literacy kicks off on Dr. Seuss's birthday and is a week full of fun opportunities for kids to enjoy good books and all the benefits that come from sharing stories. I was fortunate to join Eastern Elementary School in Georgetown and Hearn Elementary School right here in Frankfort to kick off celebrations earlier this week. Thank you to their students and teachers who welcomed me into their classrooms with questions and comments that I will always enjoy hearing. Everything from cats to what the elf on the shelf was busy doing. Reading is one of my favorite things to do. I love to share that joy with Kentucky's children. I especially loved teaching Will and Lila to read when they were younger. We still make trips to the library, and every once in a while, they will still indulge me in a story. I want to challenge all Kentuckians to pick up a book or two with your children this week. When March 6th comes around and Read Across America Week comes to a close, keep their love for reading alive. Make it a regular activity that you share. Because reading is a gift that keeps on giving, it opens kids to new concepts and teaches important lessons, things like sharing and empathy, or even how to process grief and anger. It teaches us about the world and the people we share it with. So, to all you young Kentuckians out there, I hope you will join me in celebrating Read Across America today through March 6th. I hope you'll keep reading for the rest of your life, and you will find the joy in it that I do as well. Thank you.
All right. Other exciting news today. On Sunday, the Kentucky State Police welcomed 103 new cadets to the training academy in Frankfort as troopers. This is the largest starting class since 2014. I want to thank and recognize the hard work of the KSP recruitment branch. We've been working with this team to recruit more troopers and to increase diversity, including more women and more minorities. KSP and I have both acknowledged that the state police must represent the diverse communities they serve, and under Commissioner Burnett's leadership at KSP, we are making strides. We've taken intentional steps to make this a reality, and we've also worked to increase pay, enhance benefits, and even more to ensure these officers and their families are better supported. To our new cadets, your choice to pursue this heroic career is a true testament to your desire to create a better, safer Kentucky. These cadets will receive 24 weeks of basic training with more than 1,000 hours of law enforcement education. And for the first time in the agency's history, this Cadet Class 103 will receive training on the recently purchased integrated video recording system, or body cameras, that they will be equipped with upon graduation. Cadet Class 103, we wish you the best throughout your training, and we thank you in advance for your service. Team Kentucky will be praying for you, supporting you, and advocating for the resources that you need to come home safe every night. All right, update from emergency management on flooding. To date, the Commonwealth Sheltering Program has 203 households in Eastern Kentucky that remain in 208 travel trailers. So 14 families have found more permanent housing since last week, and we're using 5 less trailers than we were last week. So 199 trailers are currently occupied at 10 commercial locations, and there are the 9 trailers on private locations. There are 0 people on the waiting list. 4 people are currently sheltered in 1 hotel. That's no change. 20 people still sheltered at state parks. Remember, that's down from 360 at one point. FEMA assistance has now reached $100.5 million in individual assistance grants. This is an increase of over $522,000 from last week. So every week, we're seeing somewhere between $400,000 and $1 million that continue to be awarded to Kentucky. And so don't give up on your claim. Keep pushing. Since February 26th, an additional 12 applicants have received the maximum grant of $37,900. And I think this is a new statistic. So to date, 654 survivors have received the maximum grant. That's about $24.7 million, about a quarter of the total awards. If you need help, please call FEMA directly or visit a multi-agency resource center. We call them MARC centers. Make sure to check on the website for the hours as they are now rotating. In the buyout program, we continue to see progress there. This is the fastest buyout program in the history of the United States. It's never been done this quickly. These are folks that are living in the floodplain that FEMA offers to purchase their property, and we hope they use those dollars to find a safer location. As of this week, we have over $12.6 million in awards approved for the buyout program. That's an increase of $2.4 million since the last update. The awards account for 75 properties from Perry County, the city of Jackson, Breathitt County, Letcher County, and newly approved Knott County applicants. Homeowners wanting to learn more about the program are encouraged to contact their local county judge or emergency management office for more information. Today, we have 1 new award from the Western Kentucky Safe Fund and 3 new awards from the Eastern Kentucky Safe Fund. From the Western Kentucky Safe Fund, Taylor County will receive more than $60,000 to help with ineligible debris removal. And Eastern Kentucky, the city of Hazard will receive $1.75 million to help with strained finances after the floods. The Knott County Fiscal Court will receive more than $3.5 million to help them meet a FEMA match. And Letcher County has been awarded more than $160,000 to fund a FEMA match as well. As I've said from the beginning, we will be there for both Western and Eastern Kentucky, no matter how long it takes. All right, we're going to move to public health, where we're going to hear from Dr. Stack, because there are a lot of changes coming, and what types of data and how much data we are going to have or not have in the future once the federal state of emergency ends. But let me very quickly say, flu activity continuing to decline in Kentucky. It was a very effective flu vaccine this year. Please get your flu vaccine at the appropriate time. COVID-19 remains stable. We do continue to recommend getting the new booster if you have not gotten it. So now I'd like to invite Dr. Stack up to give us an outline of what we can expect, especially as the national state of emergency ends. Steve?
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon, everyone. So the national state of emergency, the public health state of emergency for COVID-19 is going to end officially on May 11th, 2023. When that ends, there will be a few other transitions that occur related to it. Now, we've already done a lot of transitions. We've already been on this journey for 3 years, but there will be some additional ones that now will become apparent for those of you who follow the data that we report and the information that we have access to. So one thing I want to reassure everyone is that the Kentucky Department for Public Health and Governor Beshear and the administration will continue to evolve and adapt and continue to support Kentuckians along with our partners at the federal level and through the local health departments to make sure we're doing proper surveillance and keeping people informed and aware of things that you need to know as actionable information to keep yourself safe. Can you put up the first slide, please? So when the public health emergency ends, the laboratory reporting required by the federal government will change. And when these changes occur, there will be implications for that. It will become more difficult, if not impossible at times, to calculate test positivity rates that have meaning in the real world. So those will probably be discontinued. New case and incidence rate data will become less complete. We've already been on this journey. People are using home-based tests instead of going to laboratories. Well, this is going to make it a smaller sampling still. There will be changes most likely to the federal COVID-19 community level map. Some of you are familiar with that because it's on the main page of our KY COVID-19 website. And it's what we still direct you to determine what sorts of levels of active intervention you should take to keep yourself safe in addition to vaccination. And there'll be a reduced frequency probably of COVID-19 hospitalization data reporting. It'll still be required for another year, but they'll probably decrease the burden on the hospitals. Again, all of these things will unfold over the months ahead, but we want to let you know now, and there are changes that we will have to the Kentucky data reported starting next Monday, and I'm going to go into that now just a little bit. So James, if you go to the second slide. Like I said, we will continue to perform surveillance on COVID-19, but we will probably evolve and adapt over the summer to create more of a fall and winter respiratory report that includes COVID-19, influenza, and RSV to have a more comprehensive look at the most common infections that typically cause problems for healthcare capacity and where people can take actionable steps to keep themselves safe. The COVID-19 website will continue, but it will be streamlined. This has been a process already underway, but it will continue. Starting this coming Monday, March 6th, you'll see less duplication. So there's a data tab, a KDPH data tab. Some of the data shows up in multiple different sub-tabs. We're going to streamline all of that. The data will be there, but it will be in one place. And once you learn where that one place is from that link, you'll be able to have access to the data through that one link. We'll continue to provide educational information, and you'll note, those of you who've used the website, there are more links now to the Centers for Disease Control that has a really robust suite of educational and data information. So we'll continue to give you links to make that easier for you to use KY COVID-19 as your primary source, and then secondarily go to those other locations where there's good information. And again, all of the states and the territories for the United States are working with the federal government and are all evolving their data reporting. So we're going to have to continue to pivot in the months ahead, because as different states take different actions and as the federal government adapts, there will be other evolutions that take place. So if I could show the third slide, please. So starting on March 6th, I just put one example. We're using one software platform on the left to produce the dashboards that we've used for the whole pandemic. They'll all be standardized to the format that's on the right. The brand doesn't matter, but it's ArcGIS on the left and it's Tableau on the right. Tableau is the one we already use for the vaccine dashboard. And so everything will be standardized over to Tableau, so it's more consistent. There are some improvements with this. You can hover over some of the counties and pop-up data will be provided for the information that creates or results in the metric you're seeing there. There'll also be the ability to sort in the top left. You can pick the date and you go backwards in time from the point in time we launched that new website or for that new format. We will archive and everything will be available for the historical reports via an archive tab. So for those of you who have press and other responsibilities where you need that data, it should still be there on an archive page. We realize that this is going to be a learning curve for some of you who use this regularly. And as you adapt to this, we will try to put some transitional language to remind people that this changed on such and such a date. And of course, we're here to help you. You can always reach out to communications department and we will do our best to help you find the location or reach out to KDPH if need be. COVID-19 is not over, but the formally declared emergency is going to be over on May 11th, a definitive time for certain. Next Monday is going to be the 3-year anniversary of our very first patient that we identified in Kentucky. It's been a long journey for everyone. I want to thank you. This is not my final remarks, but as I wrap up COVID, I'm going to say I want to thank you all. Really, your engagement, your kindness, your courtesy towards each other through a very, very long, once in a century, generation defining experience has been really, really, really appreciated. And as the governor said, we'd get through it together. We have gotten through it and we have gotten through it together. And I just really want to thank everybody and the governor for support. And then the measles, did you want me to? Yeah. And then I want to just touch base real quick on the measles, which is in the news. So in central Kentucky, we announced on February 24th that we found a case of measles in an unvaccinated Jessamine County resident. The individual attended a large gathering at Asbury University on February 18th that also made the news. Well, they were contagious. It's estimated that thousands of people attended the gathering on this date from across Kentucky and other states and even from around the world. And so I want to say, first off, we are very grateful to Asbury University, the Jessamine County Health Department, and the Centers for Disease Control have all been wonderful partners. And again, these are difficult situations to navigate sometimes, and Asbury's been a terrific partner, and we're grateful for that. Measles is a respiratory virus that causes a high fever, rash, cough, runny nose, and red eyes. It can be very serious for people who are not vaccinated or don't have immunity. In an Ohio outbreak just last year, 40% of the people who were infected, so it was 36 out of 85, ended up in the hospital. Most of those are kids, folks, because those are the ones now who are unvaccinated. And so it's really, really important for any parent. Your kid going in a hospital is obviously a terrifying moment. Vaccination makes that a virtual unlikelihood, almost certain not to happen. Measles symptoms typically happen 7 to 14 days after contact with the virus. The rash typically appears 3 to 5 days after the first symptoms. Virtually everyone, nearly 100% of people who get measles get the rash. It is definitive for it. Measles is one of the most contagious diseases on the planet. The only thing that can compete with it is the Omicron variant of COVID. We've talked about that before. Before vaccination, if you were in a room with one person with active measles who was contagious, you should expect 9 out of 10 people in that room would get infected. One person with measles can infect as many as 18 other people. It is that contagious, folks. Vaccination, 2 doses of an MMWR is 97% effective in protecting you from measles. So here's the issue. Most adults have immunity to this. You've been vaccinated or you had it if you're beyond a certain age, you had it as a child. The problem is vaccination rates have fallen to 87% for kindergartners in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That means 13% of kindergartners in Kentucky, based on current CDC data, are at risk for measles. And I just told you 40% of the people who got infected last year in Ohio ended up in the hospital. MMWR has been around for a long time. It is safe. It is effective. It is highly effective, 97% effective. We would urge everyone to please go and get vaccinated if you are, well, the children can't do that without their parents. If you have fallen behind because of COVID or because you couldn't get to your doctor's office or it fell off the radar, please make sure your children are up to date with their vaccines. It is the easiest, safest way to keep them protected and make this whole thing a non-issue. And finally, if you were at the Asbury event between the dates of, say, February 17 through 20, if you develop a fever, cough, runny nose, irritated eyes, and a rash, a red rash on your body, you should isolate at home and you should call your healthcare provider. Don't just go show up unless you are in serious need of emergent medical care. Call them first and say, I think I have measles. Tell them why, and they can help you hopefully arrange or navigate how to get testing so you don't show up in a waiting room and infect everybody else in the waiting room. So anyway, folks, measles will not be COVID, but this is something that we very, very clearly can keep ourselves safe from through vaccination. So I urge you all to make sure your children are up to date. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. All right. And today's Team Kentucky All-Stars are Kentuckians raising awareness around cancer research. So many Kentuckians are impacted by cancer, including me and my family. My dad is a cancer survivor, and sadly, I've lost some pretty special people to cancer, including my Aunt Mary Ann Miller and a close friend who recently passed away that I've known my entire life. It is hard to lose someone we love, but we can honor them by helping others. It gives us hope and a meaningful way to remember them. Over the last few weeks, I've met some pretty incredible Kentuckians doing just that. On February 15th, we recognized Childhood Cancer Research Advocates Day and met with children and their families impacted by cancer. They fight daily for their children and kids across Kentucky so they can have access to quality care and research for long, healthy lives. This month, we're also working with folks here in our Commonwealth to raise awareness around colorectal cancer. This cancer is the second leading cause of cancer-related death among men and women combined. But 60% of those deaths can be prevented by regular screening. So last night, we lit the mansion blue to encourage folks to schedule their regular screenings. The new recommended age is 45. That's my age. I'm working to schedule an appointment, and I hope everyone else will too. Today, I also met with some pretty amazing Kentuckians who are working in honor of their loved one. Daphne's Legacy is a nonprofit here in Frankfort raising awareness to help those affected by triple-negative breast cancer, the most aggressive form of breast cancer that took the life of their family member, Daphne. Her brother, children, and their entire family are working hard to honor her by helping others. All of these leaders are inspiring, so it gives me great pride today to name these advocates and those working to fight against cancer as Team Kentucky All-Stars. We're going to support these All-Stars and their efforts. In fact, just this afternoon, I'll be traveling to Campbell County, where I will present an award from our nonprofit assistance fund to the Wood Hudson Cancer Research Laboratory, which works to research cancer treatments. We're also dedicating funding to the childhood cancer research, creating free screening programs, and we're continuing to increase access to affordable and quality health care. Thank you to our Team Kentucky All-Stars. All right, we'll open it up to questions. We'll start with Christiana Ford.
Hi, Governor. Thank you for calling on me. Recently this week, we went out to Martin County to do an update on the water issues. And so people there are still drinking out of water bottles, even though the officials are saying that their water is safe to drink, according to EPA standards. So I'm wondering if there are any funding challenges or limitations that are preventing the state government from addressing the infrastructure issues in Martin County. And if so, what are those challenges and what is being done to overcome them? Do we have any kind of timeline on that?
Martin County has been struggling with its water system since before I became a part of government. Worked with them when I was Attorney General and continue to work with them in my role as governor. It was a challenge before the flooding, and the flooding has certainly further impacted the system. A large part of the challenges of the system is the water loss. The underground lines lose a significant portion of water that goes through it. It took a long time and many missteps in the past to get that system where it is, and it's going to take us some time, unfortunately, to get it fixed. Martin County has participated in the Cleaner Water Program, which provided $500 million statewide with an allocation to every county, and I know it's put that to good use. In the past, it's worked with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, and there have been some specific appropriations. Certainly something as large as what the judge is talking about being the total amount that might be needed would take a specific appropriation from the General Assembly. But we are working directly with the judge, working to set up meetings with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, the Division of Water, and USDA, which is Rural Development, to see what type of federal help there may be. Listen, everybody deserves clean drinking water, and this is probably the area with the biggest challenge.
Do you think, are you hopeful that the General Assembly could address this soon?
I don't believe that they are making appropriations on the infrastructure side during this period of time, but we'll certainly look to find every avenue of funding we can outside of that. Anna?
Back in 2021, a lawsuit against DOCJT was filed that claimed discrimination and sexism in the department from superiors. Recently, I reached out to the department regarding that lawsuit, and in essence, they said that it was meritless. What do you say to that when there's legal proof that in 2020, at the time Commissioner Alex Payne was in charge, he was discriminated against because of his age?
Well, certainly every place of employment deserves to be free of discrimination. People should be treated based on their merit and never discriminated against. That lawsuit is in court, and I was a lawyer. I trust the system to work it out, to find what's true and what's not, and we will certainly address any issues that the court finds are there. Every workplace deserves to be free of discrimination.
What do you say to those that filed the suit that say those in charge have yet to be punished or reprimanded?
Well, the lawsuit is still pending. It's been in court for over a year, and that's why we have a judge and juries to ultimately determine what's true. And so we will take any of those findings when they become final, and we'll act accordingly. You're welcome. Austin.
Thank you, Governor. Similar question to last week, since it seems like the legislature is still quite focused on LGBTQ issues, particularly trans issues. I'm wondering if you have any message to the legislature. And then I'm wondering, since it seems like this issue is likely to come up during your reelection campaign, if you have a sense on where you think a majority of Kentuckians fall.
Well, I think we saw some polling last week that says a majority of Kentuckians think that medical decisions about their children should be made by parents and their families. And what some legislation is doing here in Frankfort is tearing that away and saying, no, big government is going to tell you what is medically best for your children. As a parent, I think that's wrong. Sadly, this session, instead of focusing on things like job growth at a time where we just rank number 2 per capita overall, at expanding healthcare, at making things more affordable at a time of inflation, instead of the legislature focusing on teacher pay where we're 44th. We need to be passing increased teacher pay. Instead, they're focused on these bills. And I believe, I said last week, I believe every child is a child of God, every single one. And whether it's the American Medical Association, Trevor's project, all of the authority on this suggests that these types of bills will cause an increase in suicide for Kentucky's teens. I can't support anything that could cost the life of one of our Kentucky teens. And I just think it's amazingly callous that Senator Berg lost her son right before this session. And they're passing this type of legislation right in front of her. Who would do that in their workforce and in their workplace? I mean, she is a mom that lost her son. That's treating somebody that way is just inhumane. All right, we have Karen Czar on the line.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. Is Dr. Stack still available?
He is.
Okay, I have a question for you and one for Dr. Stack. The first is piggybacking on Christiana. Do we know how many areas in Eastern Kentucky are still having issues with infrastructure regarding water? And then my question for Dr. Stack is one I've asked you in the past, but with the anniversary coming up, and the national emergency for COVID ending, if we were to look at our graphs from the last 3 years on COVID, say 200 years from now, just like we used to pull up graphs of other cities, what do you think people will say of Kentucky and how we did? Thank you.
Well, Karen, what I hope people remember and think for what Kentucky is that at a time when every state, the whole nation, and the whole world faced, once in a generation or once in a century and a generation defining event, was that we did it together. That overwhelmingly we came together and we worked together. It was hard, it was difficult, it disrupted our lives. All of those things are undeniable, but that we faced it and confronted it together. And I don't think those graphs and those charts will show all of that stuff. I think that's going to be people remembering what they went through at this point in time, and that is Kentuckians, we kind of came together and we were one Kentucky. And I think that that's a big deal. As far as those graphs and those charts, people are going to pour over that for a very, very long time. But I am confident that we managed to flatten that curve at various points in time, that people taking actions that we asked them to take and looking out for their neighbors helped us to keep people alive and to save lives. And so I think when history looks back on this, they'll look back favorably on the 4.5 million Kentuckians who all came together to look out for each other and save lives. And so that's what I'll remember. And I think the governor's coming back to tell you the other answer.
I'd say on that, I think it'll show the most effective battle against a pandemic in human history. Now, it happens once every 100 years, so it should be better every time. But you look at how quickly we got vaccines. You look at the initial projections of how many people we'd lose versus the number that we've lost. I think we will always look at some things and wonder if we could have done this or that a little bit better. But I don't think that negates the fact that this has, I think, been the most effective battle against a virus that came to kill as many of us as possible. I think the moderate projection in the beginning was 2% of our population, which thank God has not happened. On Eastern Kentucky, the flooding caused over $1 billion of water and wastewater damage. So everywhere that it's significantly flooded has significant infrastructure damage that's going to take some real time to repair. That's City of Hazard and Perry County's various water systems. That's City of Hindman, Knott County, and everywhere, everywhere that it flooded. You think about that much water going through those systems, and it caused significant and severe damage that will take us years to replace and to repair. Olivia Evans from the Courier-Journal.
Good afternoon, Governor. I have 3 quick questions. Well, can you first start by telling me what was your reaction to the change in Senate Bill 115 today?
Was that, tell me what the change was.
So Senate Bill 115 went from requiring there to be a 1,000 feet distance for drag performances and other adult-oriented businesses to now not having that location distance requirement, and also more focusing to just keeping minors out of drag performances and out of adult businesses, rather than saying where adult businesses can be located.
So I haven't read that committee sub, but I think it's going to have some significant constitutional issues. I was a lawyer before I did this, and I think that there's some First Amendment issues that they probably should have researched before putting together that bill.
Perfect. And my next question focuses on Senate Bill 47, the one that advocates for legalizing medical marijuana are hoping for the passage of. It received a committee assignment yesterday. Do you support that bill, and would you sign it into law if the legislature sends it to your desk?
Listen, I'll support any medical marijuana bill. We need to move forward. I'm not going to require that it be perfect. This is not about me and my evaluation of a bill. It's about the individuals that need help. It's about our veterans suffering from PTSD. It's about people with children that have epileptic seizure after epileptic seizure after epileptic seizure. It's about people that don't want to be taking opioids. That's why I filed the executive order, and I would welcome legislation, even if imperfect, to help move this forward.
Thank you for that. And then my final question here is about House Bill 594. to ban the gray machines or skill games. That's expected to pass the House committee this afternoon and could clear the House by tomorrow. Have you reviewed this bill, and do you support its passage into law?
So we're watching it very closely. Gray games are entirely unregulated. It's the only form of unregulated gaming in the Commonwealth. So I believe that some action certainly needs to be taken. Okay. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next week.